And joining us is Professor Hennie Strydom, Public International Law at the Department of Law at the University of Johannesburg. Prof, what's the sense coming out of Downing Street this afternoon?
Out of Downing Street?
What's the sense coming out of with the reaction with the story?
Well, I haven't seen any reaction yet. So I do not know what you're referring to regarding Downing Street. I think I've just listened to the announcement by the court on the interim measures, and I'm still, taking time to digest the responses internationally.
We've heard from our Minister of International Relations and Cooperative Governance, Minister Naledi Pandor, saying she's certainly not disappointed, and this is something that South Africans should be celebrating.
Yeah, I think South Africa made out a very plausible case right from the beginning. It was very well substantiated, and I think we all had a sense that South Africa will succeed, at least partly, with its request for interim measures. I also maintained right from the beginning that South Africa will not succeed with the request that hostilities by Israel should be stopped. It's quite clear that the court was very much aware of the consequences of that, and has sort of refrained from responding positively to that request by South Africa. And the court has concentrated quite correctly on what is some of the most important steps to be taken now to alleviate the terrible plight that the civilian population is subjected to on a daily basis.
The South African government has also indicated that this is not the end, taking this matter to the ICJ, but also will be approaching the United Nations Security Council as well, and also looking at countries such as the United States and the United Kingdom who have been enabling Israel.
Yeah, that's the other sort of important development coming out of this ruling by the ICJ. It has consequences for the other parties to the Genocide Convention, in particular countries like the UK and the United States of America. And there's one point where the judge made quite clear the obligations of state parties to the Genocide Convention, that the obligations they owe to every one of the other states. So now that South Africa has succeeded on the interim measures, it means that the other parties, and like I've said, in particular the USA and the UK, must now sort of reconsider their sort of actions up until now in regard to the destruction of massive destruction of civilian infrastructure and the disproportionate number of casualties on the civilian population, and how to bring that to an end, to stop that. So that is the wider implications of this case. And another one is the potential political fallout of the case for Israel itself, domestically and also perhaps internationally.
Speaking of reaction, you said, you're still slowly kind of getting in all this reaction. This news has just hit us this afternoon. But we do have a reaction already from the Israel Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who has said that he rejects this afternoon's ruling.
Yes, that was also expected. In fact, shortly after the ruling was announced, I was contacted by a journalist asking me what do I think about the response would be from Israel. And exactly what you now said to me was exactly what I said to him. It's before Netanyahu, I even knew about Netanyahu's response. And he indicated that some time ago that he will not listen to the Hague, and that the sort of announcement that he made, the statements he made, clearly indicated that he would be dismissive of the court's ruling. But that's not going to help him. It may make things even worse for Israel, and that is not one would expect from a leader from a country who is in serious trouble at this point in time.
But should Israel then continue and go by what the Prime Minister is saying, that they will just reject it and continue to ignore it, then what? Which powers that be will be able to intervene, because even the UN has struggled. Now, if the ruling by the ICJ coming out this afternoon is also not going to do it, what will do it? And which power can actually intervene to make sure something happens?
Yeah, that question relates to the enforcement powers of the court, which it doesn't have. It can make binding rulings, but it doesn't have enforcement power. So the one option is for the case to be referred to, or the outcome to be referred to the Security Council to take steps. But then, as we know, the potential for a veto being exercised by the United States of America will be sort of almost certain. And then the question is that a case that may then be transferred to the General Assembly under the Uniting for Peace resolution? That is a debatable point, and in any event, the General Assembly has no powers to make binding decisions. It can only make recommendations, and it has done so in a number of cases. Ukraine is one, and some others. Syria is another one. So that is the potential road, but it is an ineffective one.
So I guess then the monthly report is where we'll be able to see the proof of the pudding, to see that will these preventative measures be implemented and taken into account seriously once we do get that monthly report, the first one.
Indeed, yeah, that's a good point you're making. We will have to wait and see how the international community in general is going to respond. Another interesting aspect of the court is the large majorities on the interim measures. So that is a significant one. It shows the high level of consensus amongst the judges orders.
I think we've got a bad line there with Professor Hennie Strydom.